Casters, start the game.
Boop, boop. I pressed the button. There you go, it's happened.
Fantastic.
Prestige Misfortune as well, with the golden candlesticks absolutely everywhere. Final game of the day here today. Singularity versus MNM. On paper, perhaps not the most exciting, considering standings, but at the same time, the amount of stakes in this game, when both teams are towards the bottom of the tables and really want to start picking up those wins if they want to do things like avoid relegations at the end of the split. This has so much import.
Well, Spiky stood outside the brush, catches wind of them there. They're going to flash over for it. Currently, lands that make it rain onto all of them. And actually, this is going to be the Comet Misfortune. And I'm looking over at MNM. There aren't huge amounts of abilities that can get onto the MF and cancel that ult if you position well. I think Spiky and Pop, if they manage to combo up, there isn't a huge amount which MNM can really say about it if it's in the right area. This is a lot about objective setup for MNM if they want to survive that combo. I think if particularly Soft manages to, or of course Shredder as well, if he's decoupled from his lane partner, if they manage to get out onto the map and unsettle one or a couple of these Singularity members, that's where things start to turn in their favor. But if they allow all the pieces of Singularity's crazy team fight burst combo to come together, that's when it gets dangerous for them.
If the Gangplank, the Fiddlesticks, the Lucian, the Misfortune
walk into a bar,
all get to press R, then
they walk into a bar, it explodes.
Exactly, that's the idea. Probably because it's full of like barrels and explosives.
Okay, so this is the thing you do on Fiddlesticks. Obviously, you get to leash a lot of camps next to each other. Pop doing the double super leash. Oh,
you missed the reap. That's a bit sad. It's okay. He'll still be just fine. Bountiful hard if gives a lot of.
Yeah, he knows. We've seen that.
Call him out. There it is.
He knows the tech. Just didn't execute it on quite well. But still, Fiddlesticks is not getting invaded. Still has pushing lanes on the top side of the map. Can be a couple of seconds slow on their clear, which is a little sad. But still, you see the logic. And Fiddlesticks very happy to just clear through these camps, hoover them up like a Nunu from not League of Legends, the one from Teletubbies. So
yes, there is definitely an element of that. I grant you the W4 Fiddlesticks is a little bit Hoover-like.
Yes. Which jungle camp would be W ghosted? Okay, right, this is really
as with everything else. I don't know how niche Teletubbies references
I know that SK are planning on doing a particularly cursed piece of content with it as a central theme.
Okay.
See if
spoilers.
Speaking of curses and haunting, Soph is haunting this jungle. Maybe has a chance to. Oh gosh, this is really
dangerous. Orb's going to get stunned and taken incredibly low. Visions of Empire force to flash. Does still have the reap, potentially smite on the Krogs. Pretty good. And now actually the danger's coming back as the Bountiful Harvest causes a lot of HP coming straight back through. Gets onto Paul, but can they get the kills? Still chasing him. Can't quite get it. The door goes up. He's still alive. But they're now between two turrets. Michigu and the rest of MNM need to extricate themselves. Get stunned. Michigu's surely going to fall. There's a tower shot coming. He will die, and the double buffs get transferred to Spiky.
So this is obviously pretty crazy. We were like, pushing lanes from Singularity. Maybe this Fiddlesticks can survive the early game. But when this happens, Swain's actually got control of this mid-wave. Port being a couple of seconds late on the clear leads to this. This is what it leads to. Trying to do that 6-clamp clear, doing the super leash effectively, where you're using multiple camps to use that big drain function. Soft gets the Krug steal on that, but even with this, MNM, I think they're a bit emboldened. They kind of bait themselves into a bad fight. So many summoners use, don't get away with the double buffs. At least Soft gets to walk away and continue to keep up that red buff, but wow, that's really quite unfortunate for MNM after that looked to be pretty a one-and-done trade.
And just look at all the summoners burn. Everybody not named Caleb on MNM burn at least, well, burn both summoners, actually. So huge loss of those additional spells to their name. Port gonna try and save away as many as those he can. Doesn't get the big chicken there, but does continue to try and be as aggressive as possible here. And actually, it's a game that is a little bit in favor of MNM in terms of the gold, but honestly, that play could have gone significantly worse for either team there.
Yeah, and obviously a large part of that was the mid-priority coming in from MNM. Now we do have this new player Mirza coming in. He's going to be part of the spotlight again, walking up into never move range. Not going to get caught by that, but we did talk about how dangerous Soph and Shredder can be in this game if they're decoupled from various lanes and get to freely roam across the map. Mirza manages to stay safe there.
Does indeed. And we'll check in with some of our NLC pets. That is utterly adorable.
Oh, someone.
It's, of course, someone throwing this one out. Hashtag NLC at home from a few days ago, watching with a doggle on the lap. His bed in bed is relaxing. That it is Very adorable indeed. We could definitely use some more hashtag
You know,
NLC.
the great thing about the NLC is that, again, we get to so many people that we see kind of tweeting these things we actually know.
Oh, exactly.
Someone's a good friend of ours.
Absolutely.
So hope they're having a good time. And, of course, those of you out there who are watching alongside us, absolutely let us know how you're doing as well, because it's great to build this community up and celebrate our regional League of Legends to see how you're all doing back at home.
Yeah, I mean, like, I need to see more incredible home pictures and pets if possible. Person does get hooked up, but has a door, and therefore that blocks a lot of the damage.
Yeah, Braum has a pet door.
Pet door. It's like a pet rock, but more extreme.
I've seen that SpongeBob episode. I know what happens.
I'm trying to remember what else happened in that one anyway.
Well, there's a race between pets, and the rock wins.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's throwing back to my childhood there is Alex offers 10-year-old, 15-year-old spoilers. Probably a long, I'm not quite sure how old.
Hang on, at this point it is completely safe.
Yeah, exactly. You're fine. You're past the statute of limitations on that one. Either way, 1-1 scoreline, seeing a little bit of pressure going on. But honestly, the later this game goes, MNM with the Kayle, with the Swain, with Samira, not exactly unhappy if it goes late.
So it starts to be a question of not whether you can do damage to... So, to say another topic which I bring up all the time, scaling isn't hitting training dummies. It's not saying, I do 1,000,000 damage, because if that's the case, Kayle would be picked every game without fail. Now, it is meta, but there are plenty of champions where if they're free hitting, they do incredible amounts of damage, but are they going to function? So let's look at this game, because I look at so many of these champions, lots of low-range champions. I know that when the Swain was locked in, particularly MTS was saying, oh, there aren't that many melees. Swain's not going to be part of this fight, though. Bot lane's starting to get a bit weird.
Damage, and Shredder and Soft just say, yeah, we can't help you there, you're done.
And actually, they call off the play on bot side, too. Soft and Shredder go, well, that's just dead, that's just gone. Mishigu left alone in lane and gets punished for it. It's going to be killed to the side of Singularity.
And a Fiddlesticks pulling off a gank pre-6 is not good news, generally speaking. Merza trying to back away. There's a Hex Flash over the wall, but Shredder's not really going to be in range. And honestly, coming into this game, we had a lot of praise for MNM. And I know you in the pre-show were saying, look, this does not look like a 1-6 team. They've had some really good games. Hell, they had a fantastic comeback against Bifrost on Monday. But the problem is they've not been able to convert those mid and late games into
almost
wins.
Come back. They did come back. They just didn't win.
No, exactly. They came back and then didn't come back again. Yes. It's a polite way of saying they kind of threw it, unfortunately, at the Nexus. And as it stands, this game is another one of those games where it's a little bit slow in the early game, which is not necessarily the best thing for them. And they will be wanting to get this win here against Singularity. As it stands, despite some good performances, there's still only one win ahead of this team who, by a lot of margins, had a lot of work to do, really.
Off walking off, spotted by Person, gets tagged.
Oh, enough of those narratives. Soft flashing, does get stunned into the culling, and Merza steps into the mid lane, rolling, gets himself a kill.
Look, at the end of the day, MNM have had pretty good mid-jungle control so far. Soft pushing into the enemy jungle, and Camera, when they get to push in, putting wards in the bot side jungle. Bot side of the map, awesome, great, loads of control. Why are you walking into top river? That's the area you don't have control over. And Person in the right place at the right time. Merza gets onto the board in terms of their own kills too, and MNM really punished for that overstep.
Camera and Merza switch sides on the Rift briefly there in the lane, but they've given Porp a lot of time to get a hold of this. Rift Herald again to continue with some of this pressure.
And also gets those first tier boots back as well.
Yeah.
This is where you start to, particularly, it kind of reminds me of the Diana kind of syndrome from Spring, where you get to a point where you get your first back and then you just explode jungle camps. They just go, they just disappear, which is why MNM taking the chance while they know that Herald is down to at least deny some of those resources from Fiddlesticks. Of course, Porp, no stranger to these farming AP champions, played that a lot on the likes of Karthus, and this time actually seems to be in a position to do a decent amount of work, but is still being denied resources by MNM.
A lot of wards into his red side jungle as well, so he's going to come in here and get the hold of the Krugs, but I think he's going to be a little disappointed to realize the rest of his camps down here are gone. Mishigu and Shredder, though, currently shoving up, might actually be at risk here.
Oh, do not fight this,
Storm.
MNM. This is the point where you need to have very good jungle tracking. They need to play by process of elimination, know which jungle camps are up, and then play around their vision. They've done 2 parts of that. They know which camps are down on red side now. They have a lot of vision with it. MNM, if they play around their vision, as opposed to that topside pick, which they didn't do so, they should be fine. They're using that Swain W as well to add to their efforts.
They've got 3 control walls, 1 behind the red buff, 1 in front of the red buff, 1 in the bush going into lane. But Michigu is being forced to stay so far away from these minions. That wave is in an awful state for them.
6 from Braum now, 2 flash on there. That's some decent hard engage. It's not the most reliable, but flash Braum ult in your face is not something you particularly want to be eating either way. So MNM leaving themselves in a position where they don't necessarily know where Porp is, and they have to play respectfully. Even though Porp is losing out on some time, again, most of the camps are down. You're effectively free to make a play here. I know it's a lot of time spent, but it's still, I mean, if those camps weren't going to be respawning anyway, whatever, right?
He's still just outside of range of that control, I think. Not quite sure, because he's dead now. I've never been the best at reading those ward radiuses again. Why I'm partly
this is the Fiddlesticks spot. And you see that camera again, spotting out a lot of stuff here. That's the blast plan hit. They know that the play's on. Stacked wave is absolutely
Here comes everyone
huge.
else. Camera.
Can't stay under this turret.
Cameron's off on their way. They need to run. Out comes the harrowed path, but it costs them some plates. Michigu and Shredder play it safe, but once again, they're zoned away from a lot of that wave, and the Dragon Spawn, they'll take that instead.
So they use the stack wave to hold the enemy lane under turret, but what are they actually going to get from that? Are they going to be able to respond to this? Dragon's falling fairly quickly, but MNM are going to be in time to respond.
Culling to try and keep him away from the control board. That absolutely works for now. He might head back and does so, but it keeps him away from anything resembling contesting that dragon, stops that dragon stacking. And Porp has got the Herald in inventory still, will need to lose it soonish, and has fallen behind that tempo as a result of that play. Remember, that has given Soft some time to get some more camps. He's up about 15 CS or so.
Well, you say that, but I mean, topside camps are still up. I mean, what you're doing is delaying the next respawn of them because you spent so much time on bot side. The problem is, can you even contest these bot side respawns? That's really annoying now. They've basically lost all of them on cooldown. Bot lane's not roaming from Singularity. I wonder if that would have been a play for them. I think that Singularity haven't done a good job of really protecting these jungle camps. There's been a bit of a lack of awareness of when they've been going down and the information to contest them. MNM on the other side, being very methodical about, yeah, okay, let's deny this jungle form. We know this is important in this game. In previous seasons, it's been more important. Think back to Season 10, farming junglers and camps were so important. The amount of XP and gold they gave were an objective all in themselves. Less so nowadays, but when you have farming damaged junglers, they become that more important again.
Caleb now potentially the recipient of a little gank action. Still waiting as we see a little bit of the goal. What are you spotting out here?
Spotting Nautilus on the top side, and we were talking about how Singularity's bot lane hadn't really moved to deal with
going.
that.
They know.
He's going.
They're going to try and stop him though. There's so much damage. He's been silenced. Does manage to get Divine Judgment out. Porp with the Crow Storm still rolling, doing a lot of damage. Just go golden. But everybody's here. The Cannon Barrage afterwards forces Porp to flash away. Soft gets the kill. And the first Crow Storm is heavily punished by MNM.
So Singularity don't manage to defend the bot camps. They don't manage to get their bot lane towards the top side when the play happens. And now they lose their patience. If they'd been patient, they could have just said, well, we'll just try and group up a little later. They pulled that trigger too early. That Herald, as you were rightly saying, didn't actually manage to even get pulled. The Singularity, again, just really struggling with this cohesion. MNM punishing them for their impatience.
Camera, though, might now be in danger. He's got Ghost, he's got Flash, may need to use one or the other, but now being jumped on, so much damage will probably be flashed on afterwards. Rooted in place into the culling. He's got a Ghost, but nowhere to go. Throws up the Demonic Ascension and gets murdered by Mirza.
Okay, well, they find something now. They've lost a bit of pressure on top side, losing some vision after that ill-fated top lane ult, but at least the Lucian is starting to get rolling. I'm looking at a lot of players on the other side that can get burst out by a fed Lucian. Even the Sway not going to be too happy with that, likes of that Lucian running towards them. But now, even with your AD carry starting to get fairly buffed up, what can they do with this?
Matsui now going to try and take this option to get some damage onto Caleb. Remember, that ult is down, so it takes a lot of damage back, but now being traded back onto with the Starfire Spellblade and some Radiant Blasts. But of course, there's some Origins inventory to make sure it's still a relatively even trade as it stands.
So Caleb is not going to go for the crit Kale. This is going to be Nash's Tooth, more AP damage, more magic damage, more scaling on stuff like their shields and their very big burst damage if they turn around with their abilities, but it's not going to be completely auto-attack centric from this build. Let's track that as the game goes on. Once again, these bottom camps have been such a big target for MNM, and Singularity are not in position to defend them. Bot lane, we're pushing in towards it, but when you get control of bot lane, you get control of mid lane when you've just gotten kills, you need to do something with it. Yes. The next step has to happen. And it can feel a little harsh kind of talking about this, but this is a 0-7 team. They're sat here, and these are simple things. They need to be able to use this prio at some point. And it feels like right now, they're not really aware of, what they're losing in terms of these smaller camps.
To quote one Mark Cadrell Lamont, jungling is a team sport. You don't get to do it by yourself, especially when it comes to these kind of...
What team sport would it be? Handball. Do you know much about handball?
No.
I don't, which is
no,
why
no,
it's a bad idea for you to mention it.
I could make up some rules about handball and pretend that's what it is. So I believe handball is like dodgeball, but with camouflage, and people don't go out after being hit by one.
It's like, you walk out of the house. Handball!
Handball, exactly. And really what it is, the ball is attached to your hand.
That's what Porp is actually trying to do right now.
Slapping.
Maybe that's what Porp's actually trying to play. Maybe that's why it's the team jungling sport, because he's trying to come out of that camouflage and see what he can do with it.
Shredder taking a lot of damage, but there's the glacial fissure afterwards. Demonic Ascension comes through, but it's not actually getting that much down as Porp trades it straight back with the ultimate of his own. We'll get the Herald as well, might likely die afterwards, does so. It is a 2-for-1 in favor of MNM, but the Herald goes the way of Singularity.
But if you're, again, fighting for this, where's your misfortune? They have 2 kills. You need that ultimate around this fight, and it feels like Soft has been picking up so many pieces from what Singularity have put towards them. Shredder a little bit of an ill-engaged, ill-advised engage at that point, but even with that, still turns around a little bit awkwardly. They just kind of allow Fiddlesticks to just jump straight into them. This hook here from Shredder, there's no follow-up. Kalem's not in position. It's a fantastic brawl ult to delay the backline from really getting across what they wanted to do, and that means that they lose themselves their support. Of course, the play does go in their favor outside in terms of the kills. They lose that Herald, though, which is a little awkward to deal with. If they manage to actually put that down this time, start opening up that map, get some vision, those jumping over the walls, become a lot more dangerous if Singularity pull the trigger.
Call it out here as well. That is a Trinity Force in the inventory of Viego. A little bit of an unusual build. We've seen a lot of Divine Sundra into slightly more bruisery builds, but there is some room to go things like the Trinity Force or Healthful Crit has often been a solo queue special for Viego players.
Yes, do you remember, there was a really fun build where you would see Prowler's Claw Viego. There was an NA Academy player that would do the Viego slide. I forget their name. If you go ask, I think it's Cubby on Twitter. He talks about this a lot. Love Cubby, great guy. And he speaks about this player with great fondness because he just go Prowler's Claw Viego, just like one-shot people with unavoidable one-shot combos. But it's been a while since we've seen that. And the Triforce is... I actually can't remember the payoff you get from this, but of course, in terms of your consistent damage, Triforce tends to do a fairly good job up until the hyper late game when the percent pen from Sundra becomes really, really nice in terms of the raw stats you get.
It does indeed, but right now, Mirza being potentially chased down here. Soft just pops the Spectral Maw, and I don't know whether you want to be here, dear old Mirza. There's no teleport to support him. There is a Cannon Barrage up shortly.
Living up to his name and rolling a natural 1.
Oh, very good indeed. How do you want to do this, he asks, but I'm not quite sure whether he's Matthew at this point, doing his absolute best to 1v3. This bot side play does eventually fall, and there's nothing you can roll there to survive that.
Yep. How do you want to do this? Apparently wants to try and all in and find something. Can't find enough. There is the Herald. Actually, this is a really good position from Porp. See if he's actually on vision, but one of the dangerous things from MNM is if they quickly move from one area of the map where they have had their vision to, as we saw earlier, to areas without, you're at risk of having huge turnarounds. If you don't catch the Misfortune on ill-advised skirmish, they get to wall. If you don't catch the Fiddlesticks off of vision, they get to lots of things which can go wrong. And of course, the Cannon Barrage coming in regardless of where you end up has to be tracked very, very carefully. So Shredder going in to clear out this vision. Important stuff for MNM. Can't really let that slip.
Quick note as well, according to Jojo, who of course works for Singularity as one of their team managers, was noting Tatooi's birthday is tomorrow.
Oh, really?
And it would be a wonderful way to celebrate, I'm sure, for Singularity and Tattoo in particular, if they can get their first win here in summer.
That'd be really cool. Because we know that this Singularity bunch is quite tight-knit, from what we've been told, even with the loss streaks that they've had to endure this year. Heard some very heartfelt stories about how, you know, this is the team, this is the squad that they wanted to be with. Let's see if they can achieve something on the top side.
That's a good way to start. Kalem taken absolutely viscerally low, but won't quite die. Tattoo tries to play this one out as best he can. Shredder and Camera coming up best they can, but Tattoo does get Kalem with the Cannon Barrage. It will come at the cost of his own life. Afterwards, though, Porp has to run away. Everyone from MNM was around, but it gives a lot of time on the bot side for Mirza to try and push in for best he can.
How well has Soft been doing at punishing Singularity? It seems like every time there's an opening, oh, the free jungle camps, yeah, we can deal with that. Actually, Soft going in towards the top jungle.
Will be a 2v2, and it does kind of make that one a little bit more. Even the wards going down, though, are the really big difference. You can see it.
So I might have got a bit baited there, because I saw like some blinking around. I'm like, wait, that's a Heartbreaker. Then I realized, hang on, you've got Fiddlesticks body. That's actually a freebie. So he's just walking up and using that Heartbreak Strike to be for a free exit from that lane. So after all this is said, MNM take control of the top side of the map. Yeah, they lose that one kill, and that's a little awkward, but trade that back, and they get the collateral this time. They've lost the Heralds in their previous fights, but this time get themselves that top lane turret.
Do you hear that? That ticking noise coming from the top lane?
Monka W.
Oh, actually,
13 out of 16.
Yeah, I know. What does it mean? For reference, Calum is heading towards a very dangerous point, namely the level 16, third rank of that ascension.
Time is a tool you can hang on the wall, or wear it on your wrist.
Or have it in your level.
The past is far behind us. The future doesn't exist.
Are you going to continue quoting?
No, there is a whole song related to that. I'm not going to dive too deep into the topic because it's actually really kind of creepy, but yeah.
I wasn't expecting... I thought I really should have been expecting Don't Have to Be, I'm scared.
Yeah,
here we are.
It's been a long day. The longer we go into these, the crazier and deeper into the weird box of references the Hapgood brothers have. This is last game.
They're long and endless.
It's last game of the day, almost at the halfway point in the split. One more game to go before that first round robin is completed, and a reminder of those stakes. Of course, MNM would love to open up that gap at the bottom of the table. Have to try and get themselves anything on the board to give themselves just a hope in that second half to be playoffs contending.
Well, Singularity actually here with a 3,000, 2,500 gold lead. Got a lot of structures, are in a fairly okay position to fight, even if there is a pretty strong Viego to deal with. If Soft can be contained, there's some options. Bladewell will prevent that ultimate from getting too much done, though Camera chunked out. Might be somebody to punish. Shredder does a hook, and I'm not sure whether he actually wants to Soft. Burning down, does get shut down as Mercer gets that. Huge pickoff. Now Mishigu trying to trade up, but is slowed down. Gets in with the Devil trigger, Infernal trigger. Will not going to be able to quite get that down, and he's dead as well as Mercer picks up that one. This guy coming in to slot into the mid lane in face of Piccione gets 2 critical kills.
One's a solo, and then Mishigu tries to hero play on the back end of that fight, but this isn't something that we talked about yet. Point and click fear from Fiddlesticks onto that Samira makes your game incredibly difficult. MNM, they don't end up stopping Singularity before this phalanx forms, before the combo arranges itself. They lose a dragon, they might lose themselves a herald off of, sorry, brother, Baron. A little bit bigger than that. Lose Baron.
Yeah, we've gone up in the nobility rankings. It's Barons we're talking with here, and Singularity with the jungler nowhere to be seen from Soft. Looking to try and get this one down to 1,900 HP, secured, but now can they extricate themselves from the pit? Person in the back of it all could be so dead. Now Soft can start resetting. Mercer trying his best to tail with camera, but there's just nothing to be done. Porp doing his best to stay alive, but he is dead as well. Mercer now trying to run, but no flash, no hope, and it will be in the end a 3-for-1, but 2 get out with Baron.
It's still a win for Singularity, but it could have been more. They choose to maybe stick around. I think Mercer could have gotten away with it. Chooses to stand and fight, doesn't get enough down. A good never move from camera saves his own life. And MNM, if they manage to break up a mid lane turret, they're not actually going to be able to do that. That would have been maybe even the scales a little bit. Allow them again to start taking control of some of that vision control, which is so critical to the way they play out these fights. Soft has been carrying quite the burden this game. 7 kills out of his team's 9. Been doing so much work. Again, really got to stress how much it is important that he's been punishing mistakes and, you know, making sure he's capitalizing on some of the sloppy execution of Singularity. But this time, Singularity, they do end up getting towards that Baron. Sloppy or not, they take that objective, get a kill on the back end of it, and that's the real takeaway. They get to use that Baron out, see what they can capitalize from that.
Shredder's Nautilus definitely having a rough time of it this game. Diving into all of this kind of AoE effect is pretty rough on the Nautilus indeed, and then you're right, Merz just can't find their way out, and Soft returned alive and a little bit angry having been caught out the last time.
The only deathless member now actually on Singularity is Spiky. Actually, speaking of that player, how much of a glow up this guy's had. Singularity is a team which has come in for a lot of development plays. Haven't really seen a lot of returns on that. Been a difficult journey for the org, but Spiky in particular, I think, has actually gained a lot from his NLC journey. At the start of the spring, he had a rough time of it. Now started 2-0-2. Not had the cleanest ultimates just yet, but still being a force in this game. See what he can do with the rest of this one, though. Rest of that Baron buff.
Calum shoving in the bot side is not here, is now onto the tier 2, but Singularity shoving in 2 lanes, trying to deal now with a Shredder and Soft off the one side. Cannon minion off that top end, not being focused. Gonna see a quick reset to prevent too much more going down, but they'll take the extra global gold. It's an economy Baron, as yourself and a friend of ours, Rude Dude, like to say, and they will actually honestly now move themselves up to a fairly significant 4,500 gold lead.
That's meant that, of course, that some item completions are in. Talks about how hard it is to cancel out Spiky's ult if he's in the right position, if he's over a wall. Does 3 items on that ult now. You really can't afford to let that happen. So again, MNM can't really afford to take blind fights, which is going to hamper their ability to use this Viego in aggressive ways. Viego really does want to be trying to catch out targets, but if you're diving into someone and that MF ult comes over the wall, things get so dangerous. Also on the other side of the map from him, Tatui actually close to getting to that Infinity Edge plus cloaks to get himself to really dangerous damage in that front too.
I want to pick your brain here a little bit as well, because Spiky has gone toward...
Don't do that, it's my brain.
Right. Well, I'm picking it anyway, because I'm mean, apparently. Those are Swifty boots in the MF's inventory with this build.
Yes.
Discuss.
Don't need towards attack, don't need those Berserker Greaves, you just need to be positioning well, get across the map quicker, lots of things that can work for you, works with your W. Calum trying to get some kind of reprieve on the spot side, and they do.
Calum going to take a lot of damage and does have to put the Divine Judgment down. Big ultimate now traded the fear onto Soft, who walked into Porp, channeling the ultimate now. Crow Storm! Not quite a murder though. I was talking about Swain and Never Move last time, but this time they force out a few flashes, but not too much more. And on the other side of the Rift, Camera trying to shove in and get some damage down.
And a cross map in some way, but again, you can kind of see MNM, they can't take blind fights at this point. You jump into a crosser to defend any area of the map. If you don't have that vision, things get really dangerous. Pop lands a bit short on the Crow Storm, but still, you can see the thought process, and Singularity might actually be just on that verge of the first win they've been chasing for all of this first half of the split so far. Top side is getting awkward.
Camera in trouble here. Tatui, nearly the birthday boy, not quite there yet, looking to add a few numbers to his stats. That would be a great present for him.
And, we're going to talk about these teams yet again. It's Cloud Dragon coming up. It's Soul Point, not Soul for either of these teams. And MNM, they've had so many issues with this mid-game into late game. Seeing it again in this game, really struggling to capitalize on early advantages, on individual advantages. They got towards the objective first. They have some vision across here, but they've got ultimates to worry about in just a handful of seconds coming back up for Singularity.
And Tatui's decided he needs to wrap up nice and warm. Double crit cloak to top off that Infinity Edge. I think he's now at 100% crit if I've done my numbers right. Probably not, but either way, he's going to be hitting like an absolute truck with the barrels. They're going to try to burst down the dragon. Porp goes in! What a Crow Storm! Goes gold, doesn't manage to go golden though, and now he's able to be stolen back. It's traded away.
Camera!
And what can Camera get?
Oh my god!
Divine Judgment afterwards as Michigu goes wild! A triple kill after I thought Singularity had found the mother of all fights. It's turned around in style. S-rank!
Oh, MNM, and it's Michigu that leads the charge. 4 kills under their belt. Singularity, they pull their ultimates, and honestly, they don't get much out of them. Crow Storm looks good, doesn't really do much apart from stack. Michigu's ult gets 2 or 3 off of that. Again, Spiky, similar position. We talked about how important it is to see these Crow Storms and these bullet times doing well. Actually doesn't get much done for it. Can't defend the Misfortune's position. Michigu pounces and takes down Singularity 4 men at a time.
That depth charge from Shredder knocked up 3 people.
Ridiculous.
Prevented Porp, after what looked like the best Crow Storm we'd seen all game, from being able to Zhonya's. Huge moment there from the Nautilus, who'd actually been otherwise struggling a lot in this game. It's now very close. Singularity only at that 2,500 gold lead point. You've got level 16 on Calum, who's completion cost away from death cap.
Look
very
what's
scary.
Happening in mid, pulling around, using that vision they finally have.
Oh, they're certainly going to try. The Glacial Fissure comes through. Shredder on the other side of that Misfortune. The bullet time stops time. The Doomsday Clock is deleted.
And when finally MNM get themselves a win, get themselves to a point where they can play around an area of the map where they get vision. They push too far. They get too cocky, and now suddenly maybe Baron's on the table again. They can tank it forever with Fiddlestick's Drain. Can they stand and fight in the pit though? Low health target, Soft. Gotta think he's gonna try and see what he can do with that.
Emma's in so much trouble. Goes golden, but there's a cannon barrage coming down on top of him. Barrels afterwards, make sure he is bird food. Straight for the worms is him, which is a little ironic considering he's supposed to be being friends with the Ravens. Took me a second to find the right statement there. Soft. Chunked. Michigu on the other side doing the absolute best. Goes in. So many low health bars. He can't do it again. But Soft has got reset after reset available. But he doesn't have enough. He's dead. Porp goes golden, preventing another heartbreaker. Heartbreaker. Instead, it's Soft's own heartbreak that comes through. The Playboy takes a taste of his own medicine. Shredder is here alongside Caleb, though. And the Doomsday Clock is back. It ain't over till the fat lady with 6 wings sings. She goes over the wall for a double. One man gets to reset to tell the tale.
It's another disaster at Baron for Singularity. This one's so much worse than the last one.